Last week I told you I'm taking up golf. I'm going all in. I'm wondering about my sanity at this point. Building a simulator out in my shop, piecing it together on a budget. I am hunting for deals like it is a part-time job. Here's what I didn't tell you. I have one rule with my wife, Tanya. We talk about the big purchases before they happen. Every time. It is not a permission thing, it's a partnership thing. More than 30 years of marriage, and that rule has never let us down once. So when I found the launch monitor, it's the piece of technology that reads the swing and tracks the ball in a golf simulator, I knew exactly what to do. I bought it. I didn't say a word. I told myself that, hey, I'm going to mention it later once the whole thing comes together and it looks so impressive instead of expensive. Then I needed a screen and a backstop as well. That purchase I did tell her about because the screen is easy to defend. Everybody understands the screen and the backstop. So I led with the part that was easy to say out loud, and I kept the part that wasn't tucked away in the garage where the boxes were piling up. I got it all set up, and I started hitting balls. I felt like a genius. I'd put this together. And then Tanya walked out to the shop, and I watched her start doing the math. Her eyes went around the room. There was the screen, the mat, the net, the computer, and she asked the one question that I had not, or that I was hoping she wouldn't ask. How does it know where the ball goes? I had to come clean. The launch monitor. The one piece of technology that I had not mentioned pre-purchase. She flinched with grace, the way Tanya does, but she flinched. And in that half second, I watched something cost me more than the monitor ever could. The bad news was never the price tag. We could afford the gear. The bad news was that I had managed her. I'd fed her the easy part and hidden the hard part. And the moment she saw the whole picture, she didn't just see a launch monitor. She saw that I had decided what she could handle. That's the part that flinched her, not the cost, the cover. And that is the whole episode, this podcast right there. So let's talk about it. I'm Dale Dixon, and this is the Presence Lab, where we work on the skill underneath the skill. Most communication training teaches you what to say. Here, we teach your nervous system how to let you say it. This one started with a text message. My friend Brice Sloan, who is a constant inspiration and apparently a better podcast producer than I am, sent me a text message. He said, the hardest thing for leaders to communicate is a strategy trade-off. And that sparked some deeper thinking, which is what I love about Brice's questions. The nervous system says highlight the positive of the strategy, but reality demands something much more from us as leaders. That gap between what the nervous system wants to do and what the moment actually requires is where a lot of leadership trust quietly dies. So today we're talking about the flinch, the small involuntary move we make when we move to hand someone a cost they didn't want. We're going to look at why it happens in the body, where it shows up at work, and 3 tools to deliver the hard part without managing the person on the other side of the table. I built a field guide to go with this one. It's called The Flinch. It is free for you. 1 page to audit where you sweeten, 3 drills to train the steadiness, and a 7-day tracker so the work gets into your hands and not just your head. It is free. You can grab it at daledixon.me/flinch. I'll say it again at the end. It's also in the show notes and in the description right there at the top. So please grab it. Let's get into it. Now, the easy take on trade-offs is that it's a messaging problem. Leaders just need a cleaner narrative, better framing, a crisper way to explain why we're choosing this over that. Get the words right, and the disappointment takes care of itself. I don't buy it. In most rooms, the trade-off itself is already clear. People are smart. They can see that if we fund the new product, the old one gets less. They know that more with less means somebody's project is about to get smaller. The decision isn't the problem. The problem is the moment of delivery. It's standing there for us, watching someone's face change in real time while we're still talking. That's not a narrative challenge. That's a nervous system challenge. And no amount of better wording fixes a body that's trying to escape that challenge. And we've all felt it. We're announcing a reorg, and right before the hard sentence, we hear ourselves add, "But nobody's job is at risk here." We don't know that. We just couldn't stand the silence. Or we're greenlighting a roadmap and we name all the exciting things that we're going to build, and we let the part we're cutting slide by in a half sentence at the very end. Technically, we said it. Nobody heard it. We made sure of that. Or it's the budget town hall, and the cut becomes an opportunity to do more with less. We dress the cost up in a costume so we don't have to watch it land naked. Every one of those is a flinch, and every one opens a small gap between what we said and what is true. That gap doesn't close on its own. It shows up later with interest wearing our name, because when the cut finally lands, people don't just feel the loss. They remember we saw it coming and we softened it instead of telling them straight. That's when the trust goes. So why do we do it? Why does a smart, capable leader reach for the sweetener every single time? Well, because the body gets there before we do. There's a model from a researcher named Jim Blaskovich that explains it cleanly. The body is constantly running a quick calculation. It goes back to the lizard brain, to where we were on the grass plains, always aware of a threat. It weighs the demands of a moment against the resources that we have to meet that moment. When our resources feel bigger than the demands, the body reads a challenge and we lean in. It's a good thing. But when the demands feel bigger than our resources, the body reads threat and we brace. If you want to go deeper on that mechanism, go back a few episodes to the switch. We took the whole stress response apart there. This is going to be the short version. Delivering disappointment spikes the demand side. We're not just sharing information. We're about to make someone we care about feel worse in front of us right now. The body reads threat, and a threatened nervous system wants relief, and it wants it now. The two fastest ways it tries to escape the discomfort are to exaggerate the upside or blur the downside, the cost. Either one makes the threat go away for us, the deliverer of the bad news, but neither one is honest with the person sitting across from us. So here's the part most people miss, and it's good news. That challenge or threat reading is not locked in the second we walk in the door. It moves. It can flip in the middle of a sentence depending on how we're managing our own state, which means regulation isn't something we do the night before. It's something we can do live, in the chair, in the moment, while the hard conversation is happening. And there's a reason watching that face fall feels so unbearable. We are wired to catch each other's emotions. When someone in front of us drops, we feel the drop in our own body. It runs automatically, whether we want it to or not. That's the hard part. But it's also the whole game because it runs both directions. I was so excited about hitting golf balls on a virtual course in my shop. Then I watched Tanya flinch. Ooh, ouch. If we stay steady while the hard thing lands, our steadiness is just as contagious. The regulated nervous system in the room becomes the reassurance, not a promise we can't keep, our own calm. And this is the order that matters, the one that never changes. Regulate first, relate second, reason third. Reason becomes dramatically harder in a dysregulated room, and it's hard to relate to anyone while our own body is bracing. So before we soften the message, we steady the messenger. Body first, words second. Here's a word every golfer dreads: the yips. It's that sudden, involuntary jerk in the hands at the exact moment we're standing over a short putt with everybody watching. The hands twitch, the stroke goes sideways, and an easy one slides right past the hole. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic have studied the yips for decades. They live somewhere on a line between a real neurological hiccup and pure performance anxiety. And here's what stands out. They're surprisingly common among experienced golfers. The yips don't hit the beginner. They hit the serious player, the one who's practiced that putt 10,000 times. The more we've practiced, the more they have to take away. And I'm brand new at golf, and I already know that word, and I already know what it really is. The yips are a flinch. The nervous system hijacking emotion we know cold right when the pressure peaks. So in Sweating Bullets, I wrote about a day I was fully prepared and still was not present, and how those two are not the same thing. That's the yips, and that's our flinch too. We can have the whole message mapped and rehearsed and still reach for the sweetener, because preparation lives in the head and the flinch lives in the body. Let that sink in. We don't beat the yips by gripping the putter harder. We beat them by settling the body before the stroke. Same move for us. We don't get steady by hunting for better words. We get steady by regulating the body that has to say them. So here's how we do it. 3 tools. Each one has a moment it's for, a move, and a line we can actually say. Remember, this tool is available to you, written out already for you at daledixon.me/flinch. The first tool is name the cost first. The moment is the instant we feel the but forming, the one that wants to rush in and rescue everybody from the hard part. The move is simple, and it's brutal at first. We say the cost before we say the comfort. We lead with the price, not the consolation prize. The line sounds like this: here is what this is going to cost us, and I'm not going to soften it. Then we tell them the real number. We're putting everything behind product A this year, which means product B doesn't ship. That's the cost, said plainly before any reassurance. The comfort can come after. It just can't come first, because anything we put in front of the cost is a cushion we're building for ourselves, not for them. The second tool is the hard one. I call it let the air leave the room. The moment is right after the truth lands, when every nerve we have is screaming to fill the silence. The move is not fill it. We let the air go out of the room. We let the disappointment sit there for a few seconds without rushing in to patch it. This is so hard. This is where our regulated state does the work that no sentence can. We stay still, and our calm says the thing our words can't. We can handle this. I'm not going anywhere. There's no line for this tool, because the tool is the absence of a line. The silence is the presence. The third tool flips the whole thing around, and it's the one I want you to take to work tomorrow. It's called go first. The moment is any time we're sitting on a mistake or a miss that the other person hasn't discovered yet. The move is to bring it to them before it finds them on its own. Regulated, whole number on the table. The line is, before you hear it from someone else, here's what I missed. That one sentence does 2 jobs at once. It builds the exact trust we're hungry for from the people who report to us, and it earns us the standing to expect the same honesty back. We have to set the example as leaders. We cannot collect a transparency we refuse to model. Which brings me to the thing that makes this bigger than any one hard conversation. I read a forum post a while back from a CEO working through some personnel trouble. Buried in his frustration was one line about an employee. He said, "He never tells me about his mistakes. I have to find out after the fact." And you could feel how much it bothered him. Here's what I'd say to that CEO. I'm not surprised. That direct report learned it somewhere. And most likely, he learned it from watching how bad news travels in your building. There's a Harvard researcher named Amy Edmondson who walked straight into this years ago. She was studying hospital teams, and she expected the best teams to make the fewest mistakes. The data came back backwards, exactly the opposite. The best teams reported more errors, not fewer. For a second, she thought her whole study was broken. Then she looked closer, and she saw it. The best teams weren't making more mistakes. They just felt safe enough to surface them. The weaker teams weren't cleaner, they were quieter. And there's a surgeon named Atul Gawande who built the fix for this. In his book, The Checklist Manifesto, he tells how a simple 90-second surgical checklist rolled out by the World Health Organization cut serious complications by roughly a third in the original international study. But here's the part I love. One item on that checklist has everyone in the operating room say their name and their role out loud before the operation starts. And Gawande writes that once people have spoken in the room, even just to say their name, they're far more likely to speak up later when something looks wrong. The checklist didn't just organize the surgery, it gave people permission to surface the problem instead of swallowing it. So Gawande's whole point is that even the experts have to assume they're fallible. The hardest thing in that room was never the knowledge. It was saying out loud that something looked off. That is the flinch, scaled up to an entire organization. When the leader at the top flinches, when we sweeten and we fog and we manage people instead of leveling with them, we are teaching the whole building that bad news is dangerous here. And people are excellent students. They run that lesson right back up the chain at us. And then we stand in our offices wondering why nobody tells us anything until it's already too late. So the flinch is the thermostat for whether truth travels in an organization. We can't collect a transparency we won't model. Our flinch teaches them to hide theirs. And here's the line I want you to carry out of here, because it's the whole thing in one breath. Disappointment never costs us their trust. The sweetener we add to avoid watching their face fall does. Which takes me back out to my shop. The move I should have made was so simple. Walk Tanya out there on day one. Describe the whole setup, each piece I wanted to buy, the screen and the net, and yes, the launch monitor, and put the whole number on the table before she ever had to go looking for it. And then stand there. Let her have whatever reaction she was going to have. Not defend it, not pat it, just be steady enough to let the truth sit in the room with both of us. That's the version where she's my partner. The version I actually ran is the one where I quietly decided what she could handle. And what I didn't tell her cost a lot more than anything I bought. The whole truth, delivered steadily, is one of the most respectful things we can hand another person. It says, I think you can take it, whether that's your spouse out in a workshop or your team in a town hall. The move is the same. Tell them the real number and let your calm be the thing that holds. Name the cost first. Let the air leave the room. Go first. And here's the cue to carry with you. Next time you feel yourself reaching for the easy part before the true part, pay attention. That is the flinch. So 3 things before you go. First, if this episode helped you, do me a quick favor and leave a 5-star review. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. It's the single biggest way you help another leader find this. Second, I made you that field guide. It's called the Flinch. 1 page to audit where you sweeten, 3 drills to train the steadiness in a 7-day tracker so it shows up in your hands and not just your head. It is free. It's at daledixon.me/flinch. Third, and this is one that matters most, somebody in your world is carrying a hard conversation this week, a trade-off they have to deliver, a cost they've been softening, a mistake they're sitting on. You know who they are. Send them this episode. Not for me, for them. The most useful thing we can hand a leader right before a hard conversation is permission to stop flinching. I'm Dale Dixon. Don't flinch. I'll see you next week.